Hello everyone. We as humans look at disorders as if something has gone wrong, but I assure you that that is not the perspective that your true self, that your eternal self holds. I can assure you that anyone who is experiencing what we see as a disorder is being served immensely from the experience, because we only ever create something in our reality if it serves us in some way. Today, in response to popular requests, this video is going to be about autism. For thousands of years, the human species has been left-brain oriented. All this means is that humans have been less connected to their eternal aspects. They've been more physically manifested, more focused into the physical dimension. But being this left-brain oriented reduced our capacity for right-brain thinking. It reduced our awareness of our connection to source energy. But over the last 1,000 years, many in your human society have desired to have that connection with the eternal self, with source energy. And so we are coming into a reconnection of sorts with our right brain, with our eternal aspects. Because of this, some people within your society have come in and chosen not to activate the portion of their DNA which allows you to phase completely with the physical dimension. Autistic people are not phased completely with the physical dimension. What this means is they have 1 foot in and 1 foot out of physical reality. Having 1 foot in and 1 foot out of physical reality means that there is much more energy flowing through their bodily system. That increase of flowing energy through their body creates an increase in neural activity. This increased activity causes the bodily system to become overcharged and overstimulated, which is why we begin to see the classic expressions of impaired neurological function that are the basis of autism, things like seizures, difficulty performing routine motor tasks, nervous gestures or tics, and other anomalies of nervous system function. The nervous system, especially the brain, is the translator between non-physical and physical, between pure consciousness and the expression of that consciousness into physical dimension. When it is impaired in any way, that translation cannot take place clearly. The connection with the physical dimension is impaired. And this is why in autism we see difficulties in communication, strange thought patterns related to non-ordinary perception, difficulty forming coherent thoughts, or forming thoughts whose sequence is intelligible only to the person who is expressing them. It is not their consciousness that is impaired. It is the translation of their consciousness into physical expression, such as language, that is impaired. Although autism is caused by the same thing, which is improper phasing with the physical dimension, in the future we will find that autism can be caused by a great many things. Environmental things as well, such as vaccines. These environmental factors destroy brain cells. In the first 2 years of life, myelin, which protects and isolates brain neurons, has not finished growing. This allows bacterial toxins, metal toxins, chemical toxins, and other environmental toxins to reach and destroy the budding dendrites and axons, sometimes to the point that they do not grow back. The destruction of the neurons means that the consciousness of the child cannot properly phase with the physical dimension through the intermediary device that we call the brain. We usually notice that a child is autistic when they are nearing the years where they are developing independence and expected to interact with society, which is about age 2 to 4. This is the point at which we recognize that the child does not fit into the box that we and their other caregivers are trying to stuff them into. We have expectations about normal behavior, and they do not fit into those expectations at all. Because of that, we immediately assume that something has gone wrong. We try everything we can try to get them to fit into that box. But guess what? We make them, as well as ourselves, miserable in the process. This is the point in the video where I'm going to express to you a truth relative to autistic people, which all of us need to remember. They did not come here to fit into the box that you are trying to fit them into. They came here to get you out of yours. Humanity is moving into its next phase of evolution, a phase in which the species is going to become a fusion between their non-physical and physical aspects. We are going to be a physically manifested spiritual species. And so we have to connect with that aspect of ourselves more and more, which we are watching people do in large numbers nowadays. You can see autistic people as the species link in between what we are now and what we are becoming as a species. People with autism do not only come into this reality because of the expansion that that experience is serving them. They also come into this time-space reality in order to help us become the new society which we have all asked for, which is currently in the process of development. Our current society is a match to our old left brain way of being. Take the school system, for example. It is a system which does not embrace diversity. It tries to get everyone to conform. This is a contradiction to the original intention for the creation of the physical dimension in the first place. The original intention was that we would become unique expressions of our source selves. Those who are autistic in this life come into this experience knowing that those of us who are here already are quite resistant to change. They understand that if they came in without some kind of visible problem, they would easily be dissuaded off of their path, like the average child is. The average child, by the time they near age 2 or 3, is easily persuaded to focus on what the parents want them to focus on, and thus conform. And so they come in with a visible problem, so that those of us who are here already can observe them and say, oh, it's a problem I can see, it's not going to change, and so I am going to have to accept that uniqueness. I'm going to have to accept the way that this person is. You see, if they came in with no visible problem that we could observe, we would never stop trying to fit them into our box, the box which we have already created, the society which already exists. And when that didn't work, we would stick them all in institutions. But remember, they are not here to fit into our box, they are here to get us out of our box. And so, when they activate these problems, which we visibly look at, we feel as if we must accept them, and then we have to accommodate them in our society. And in the process of that accommodation, we have to question everything about ourselves. We have to question the current molds that we ourselves are stuck in. By accommodating them, our very society has to change. Any of you who have been paying attention will notice that there are more and more autistic people today than there ever were in history. Part of the reason for this is that they understand that if they come in great numbers, then our current society must change very quickly. Our current school system, for example, which is not oriented towards individuals, it's oriented towards getting everyone in society to conform to a standard. Now, if the majority of students who come down at this time and who are in the school system cannot learn according to our current model, then society must change. The school system must change if the majority of the students they're teaching can't learn the way that they are teaching them. So it's a bit of a strategy on the part of non-physical energy that so many beings are choosing to come forth and activate these problems such as autism or ADHD or ADD. They're activating these problems which aren't really problems in order to help our society to turn into one that accommodates the individual, that stops going in the direction of conformity. In the past, there have been people who have watched my videos that get frustrated at the repetition that I use. The issue is that repetition is really how we ingrain something in our heads to such a degree that it becomes integral to our knowing. And so, at the risk of sounding repetitive, I want to explain something further, which I have previously explained. Our school systems cannot stay the way they are, i.e. stripping us of individuality, if the majority of students that they have cannot learn in the way that they are currently teaching students. This is the same reason for the astronomical influx of ADD and ADHD children. Nothing has gone wrong with these children. Can you really know what is best for them? Can you really know that they should behave in one way or another? Can you really know that they should do this or that? Let me tell you what ADD, ADHD, and autism mean. I'm going to speak to you from the perspective of those beings that come in with these disorders. It means you cannot get me to focus on something other than what I want to focus on. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, should they be focusing on anything other than what they want to focus on? After all, we are in a time-space reality in this physical dimension, which is meant to become the byproduct of our thoughts. We are meant to come in and individually focus on what we want to focus on, and let that focus create and design the physical reality which we perceive in a 360-degree fashion. So when we cause people in our society to have to focus on, have to conform in the way that we want them to conform, we are actually getting in the way of their creation. Trying to get a child to focus on something that they do not enjoy focusing on is to put them in a kind of prison. We corrode their self-confidence when we then make them feel as if something is wrong with them when they can't do it. In reality, something is wrong with us for trying to make them focus on anything other than what fascinates them in the first place. If you doubt me, go ahead and see what happens if you allow somebody with ADD, ADHD, or autism to focus on something which they actually enjoy. This next statement is true for all beings on this planet, but most especially for those who have come in as ADD, ADHD, or someone who exhibits autism. You must allow them to initiate their own learning, which is not something that our current society allows. And so, I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. Either you find an alternative to the current education system for them, an alternative program, an alternative way of raising them, or you and them will suffer immensely. If one of these children has come to you, you are being stretched. Your bravery is being tested. So how brave are you? Can you trust your child to know what is right for them? Can you prioritize what you know in your heart will bring them the most joy? More so than you prioritize what the rest of society says that you must do with this child. When we as a society are brave enough to let go of our rigid demands for conformity, which is an aspect of fear on our part, then it will no longer be necessary for these beings to come in with impairments in order to get us to open our minds and open up our society to a new way of being. And then our race will be the best of both worlds. It will be a race which is infinitely in touch with our true selves, with our spiritual selves, with our non-physical aspect. These impairments that we call autism are a stepping stone to what we are becoming. They are the necessary conditions for us to learn how to change. And we miss that opportunity to change and become something better as a species when we keep focusing at them as if they are the ones that have to change. When we can let go of our expectations for someone else to change in order for us to be happy, then we allow ourselves to live a happy life. Then we set ourselves free. And if we are all able to do this, then we will live in a cohesive society, which is the totality of every individual following their own bliss. If you take time to focus on what is blessed about the autistic person instead of on what is wrong with them, you will come to find that there was never an autistic person on earth who did not have a serious gift to share with this world. If you view them with the eyes that say that something is wrong with them and that they are limited, then they will come to believe that about themselves. And that reality will be the only reality that you are a match to, and thus the only reality which you can experience relative to them. If you choose to look for the gifts they bring to the table on a daily basis and choose to see their capability, you will not only enable their happiness, you will also begin to get so far out of the box yourself that you will be a match to your own personal freedom. People with autism are the forerunners. They're the forerunners of the new society which we are in the process of building. They are the forerunners for the new level of brain function within the human species. Because of this, they are a gift to everyone who experiences them. They are an opportunity to any family which they come into. Self-expression is the opposite of conformity. And let's face it, the reason we struggle so much with beings who are autistic is because of the fact that they do not conform. They do not conform to what we believe they should act like, to what we believe they should talk like, to what we believe they should feel like and focus on. But they did not come here in order to conform. They came here to teach you to be who you are. And trust me, they will teach you by example. Have a good week.